Hello, and welcome to Khyber Shards, a 5th edition actual play show set in the Eberron campaign world. It's Friday, so we have another KSA here. We are joined, obviously, by Eric. We're going to be talking about Ari for very obvious reasons, if you've seen our most recent episode. So the big moment in our recent episode was Ari, in the lead up to doing a job, makes a confession to the group that he is cursed by an archfey called the Forgotten Prince. So before we get into our questions, I wanted to go over that a little bit. So when we started this, we decided to use the Eberron Confidential resource from the DM's Guild. And so I let everyone pick a secret from that within certain limitations that I placed. I said no one could be secretly a dragon. But you decided to go with I'm cursed. Why?
Yes. So, Philip's played with me long enough, and those of you that have probably seen the way I play Ari know that I have a penchant for the dramatic. And so when Philip took the epic secrets in Eberron Confidential off the book, I was like, okay, well, can't be secretly the deposed prince of Khyber, so I guess we'll pick something else. But no, I liked the idea of, and one of our viewers, Laura, really hit the nail on the head when she kind of pointed out in the watch party chat that More Than Amia hosts that you have this character who everything to him is community. Like it's the culture he grew up in. It's everything that he wants and needs and thrives off of. And then he can never attain that because when he makes new friends, they instantly forget about him. And so that created a very interesting and tragic story for a person to kind of walk through life. And at the same time, I wanted there to be an aspect of it that, once again, we see when people discuss Ari. I wanted there to be an initial perceived benefit to it. I wanted people, when they first learned it, to go, oh, well, that's neat for an aberrant marked person to be instantly forgotten. It's like, well, it can be for a certain person. There are other party members on this show that would love to have Ari's curse. But so yeah, that's kind of why I decided to go with the Forgotten Prince curse specifically.
Okay.
So
cool.
Because I like being mean to my characters.
Well, and the irony of it is very nice. And it also plays in well with the style of game that we've got, where you guys are now trying to make a positive difference. And so now, yet again, this is a hurdle to, well, not necessarily making a positive difference, but being noticed making a positive difference for the most charismatic member of the party. The person.
Yeah, and that's the other aspect is I knew I wanted to make a charismatic character, and so the being forgotten as a charismatic person is also awful.
Right.
So.
All right, well, let's dive into some listener questions. Darren asks, what can you tell us about how you came up with Ari's curse? Were you inspired by any existing game mechanics? Were you inspired by any particular piece of fiction?
So, ever since I read Exploring Eberron, and Keith Baker really did a good job of diving into Thelanis and the nature of the Feywild in Eberron and the storybook nature of it, I've always wanted an opportunity to play around in that. And so having a character that is tangentially tied to a story like that was definitely something that made that curse very compelling. In terms of, I mean, I came up with it by going through all of the options in Eberron Confidential.
Sure.
Like, I will not claim any kind of creativity of instantly going, I know exactly which one I want. Like, I labored through every single one and, made a list. It was like, okay, so these 4 are kind of my top ones. And, oh, I can't be a dragon. Okay, I'll mark that one up. So now I have 3. So, yeah. And there was actually one that I was toying with, and I ultimately decided not to go with it just because I I thought it would be too much, and over the course of this campaign, I realized, oh no, okay, and it was, I don't know if a half elf would manifest the mark of death, so I probably won't go with that. So, but yeah, I really liked the storybook element of it and the irony, the tragic irony of all of it, and I also liked having a curse that the character was aware of, like it being a burden that he carries, that his secret is something that he keeps, unlike the rest of the party, who, at least up to this point, we've seen, if like with Ezri, unaware, no idea.
Yeah.
And so I liked the idea of having that thing that eventually you just have to go, okay, everybody sit down. We got to talk. This is going to suck. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I like that. Yeah, I gotta admit, looking back at some of the options you pitched me, because you kind of talked about the dragon thing and the Prince of Khyber thing. The Prince of Khyber thing would have been a very interesting story, but a very different story.
Yeah.
And it would be interesting. It would be a cool story. But I like this, and I like the way that you have developed it into who Ari is in such a fundamental way. Yeah.
And you can see elements from the initial idea of playing Orgev in disguise in Ari, because I did maintain some elements of like his hatred of people that sell Chiron artifacts and trying to like help the refugees and stuff. It works very well for Ari's, like, it was an idea I had when I saw that background, and then it wasn't like I just tacked it on to Ari's culture, but it kind of helped paint that picture. So
right, yeah. And I think one thing that's kind of fun for you and I, because this is something both you and I struggle with, we managed to not give this away over soon.
Yeah.
While still hinting at it a bit in the way that we were able to play off of each other. And so,
yeah,
as two people who in running games are very bad about.
Oh, I came up with something.
Yes, I got to tell everyone. See now. Good for us. Well done.
Yes, we did it.
Huzzah. Our next question is from Laura. Laura asks, did you have an idea for how the other players would discover your curse going into the game? Did you see this becoming a big storyline, or do you see this becoming a big storyline to remove the curse? Or do you think Ari will stay forgotten? And then she has a follow-up question. Does it work on people he knew before the curse?
To address the second question first, yes, I think so. That's at least the way that I've internalized it in my head, is that it's just... Philip and I had multiple conversations about, like, okay, so how does this work? And you mentioned to the community that I had a much harsher version of it in my head, and you were just kind of like, well, let's not make it awful. Yeah, I like had Ari completely like fading from people's memories, like the picture in Back to the Future, where it's just like, and you had the much more compelling and interesting idea of it's and more nuanced of, you know, Ari's the afterthought when you tell a story, and it's like, oh, and someone else was there. Who was it? And so I think, like, in the example of Ari's family, like his surviving family members that he left behind after his parents died, like his grandpa, I think, is still alive. I think I've alluded to that. His grandfather would obviously know that his child had a child. And so if Ari were to walk up to him and say, so-and-so is my mom, he would go, oh, right, you're her boy. But just seeing Ari in the street, I don't think he would recognize him, at least the way it's in my head.
Yeah.
So that's how it works on people. And I think it would work on everyone, as is the nature of curses.
Sure.
So, but yeah.
And her first question, did you have an idea
yes.
for how the others would discover this ahead of time?
No. So I honestly thought that somebody was going to ask Ari, like, hey, why did the Moon Spears not want to talk to you?
Right.
Why did Tommel not want to talk to you? Because I made it very clear when I went, like, Tommel wants to talk to you all.
Yeah.
He asked to speak to you. And it's very easy to to oversee that or hand wave that
Sure.
kind of thing away. But I thought maybe there was going to be a tipping point where somebody was going to go, okay, this has happened too many times.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, so I kind of thought that maybe it would eventually happen that way. And it just seemed like too perfect a moment of having an entire episode where everything discussed is like building a legacy and being noticed and building up reputation. And it's like, okay, if I don't tell them now, like this is literally a hindrance to everything we've just talked about. So yeah. And, yeah, in terms of seeing how it like plays into the larger game, I don't know. I leave that. I defer to the other person on this call. I think it would be interesting to do it, but not at the detriment of the plans that Philip has.
Sure.
If it's just an interesting thing that Ari has to deal with and try to overcome on his own, even if it's just like through some smaller side quest, Ari figures out the conditions and we have to do like a storyline to do that. And it doesn't necessarily need to become a big storyline where we travel to the Feywild. I don't know how it manifests, but I would like to see something done with it. But if not, I'm more than happy to continue playing Sad Ari.
I think it will kind of depend on so these I think of as kind of, if we were to imagine the party as the supporting cast of characters in a BioWare RPG, right? Mm-hmm. All of them have a personal quest line. Like there's some sort of quest line where you'll get to a point in the relationship where you've unlocked their personal quest and you can go on that. And that's kind of how I see the player secrets, the things with whatever's going on with Shade's dreams, Esri having the mark of death, and Ari's curse with the Forgotten Prince. If the player characters decide these are things they want to pursue and know more about, I'll take it there. I have some ideas for most of those things already. In terms of some of them, there's the potential for some of these things to come and find the characters just due to the nature of some of them. But with the most part, I'm viewing these as this is part of the character's personal story, and if they decide to pursue it, so if Ari gets to a point where he's like, I've had enough, I want to go find the Forgotten Prince, then, we've laid some seeds where that's, I guess, not necessarily, I don't know if doable is the right word, but seems like it is within the realm of possibility with the things that we've laid out so far. So, I think as far as the players not noticing, I think everyone everyone involved in this knows that you and I have known each other for a long time, and I think everyone just thought I was being a jerk. I think everyone just thought I was trolling you, like with the Moonspear thing. Oh, you're Shade's friend, or something like that, and
or going to Mrs. Brightdoom and her like giving Ari that I think I know you look. It's like, hi, I'm Pog's friend, I think is what he said.
And I think everyone's like, nah, Philip is messing with Eric. And no, I was trying to. Yeah, it was a hard one to hint at without overdoing it. Yeah, because I wanted to let it remain secret. Like the others, I can give, okay, something's clearly going on here, but without, it being exactly obvious what. We were able to do that with Esri's, and we've been able to do that with Shade and Pogs. Yeah. But Ari's it just kind of had to keep. It's a silence. It's a lack, as opposed to a thing that's happening. Yeah. It's a thing that's not happening.
Yeah. And I think one of the best ways that you did, and I think I remember this is how it played out, but like Ari being the first point of contact with Tommel, like seeing Tommel in the street, and you just simply describing to me, like, you see Tommel, and then I have to engage, and then he looks and goes, instead of Tommel just seeing Ari and going, hey, I remember you, because he doesn't. Right. So, yeah, I think little things like that, like, I think it was Laura that said this is like the kind of thing where now you go back and watch and see all of the different points where it was alluded to.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was fun.
It was.
It was fun for me to keep an eye out for where you were doing it also.
Good.
Like, yeah, it was fun anytime something like that happened. Be like, oh, Philip.
Yeah, good.
Doing
As the only
it
other
again.
person in on the joke. I'm glad you were picking up.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Eric asks, has Ari ever taken advantage of the curse for personal gain? And who would be the person he would most like to remember him besides family?
So, the first question, absolutely, because Ari got it when he was very young. And so, being a very young, stupid person, stupid boy, he would have naturally found plenty of opportunities where being easily forgotten would have been very advantageous. And I think that would have manifested in Ari probably like, Aladdin'd his way through the streets of Fairhaven at one point and just took some food.
And we're gonna get so many demands for that flashback. In full
I'm not
song.
singing one. I'm not singing One Jump Ahead. And yeah, stuff like that. And then also, we've alluded to Ari's love life, and I think early on he would have found that very compelling,
Sure.
and then it would have gotten old real
not.
quick.
Very much
yeah,
not.
yeah. And so yeah, that kind of those kind of things he would have seen as an advantage, and then eventually been like, well, this sucks, like, because also I'm a musician and nobody remembers
Right.
any songs that I play.
Which again, I think everyone just thought I was being cruel.
Yeah. And it implies a in both like dating / love life and in performance, not being remembered is a condemnation of skill.
Yeah.
In those things, like if you go on a first date with somebody and then you ask for a second and they go, who are you?
Right.
It's like, cool.
Ouch.
So yeah, I think that became very clear to Ari very quickly that like, oh, this sucks. Okay. So that person that came and told me I was cursed and nobody would remember me for what I did, they were right that it is a curse.
What's the rom-com where one of them has short-term memory loss?
50 First Dates.
50 First Dates. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Except with so many more.
Yes. And in terms of the second question, who would be the person he would most like to remember him besides family? Ari's worst fear, and here you might want to take notes, Philip, is that he'll be like walking through the streets of Stormreach and see Sarah, like his love that died in the morning, but she got out and she has no idea who he is, like, and doesn't remember him. That's like in the back of his mind, he hopes this is going to be a very dark statement. He hopes Sarah's dead because the alternative is
She's out there and she's forgotten him.
personally hard. It's a very selfish hope.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
let's Ari's once again a dum-dum. So
Yeah, it's a choice between heartbreaks.
yeah.
And one of them is a heartbreak that people are equipped to work
He's
through.
mourned that heartbreak. Like he's
Yeah.
And so in terms of, because Ari is very much kind of what we talked about of leaving it up to the players to be like, okay, I'm going to go deal with this now. Ari is very much kind of, after that conversation with Pog, like Ari's not telling the party to do anything right now. Like he's like, I'm good. Like whatever y'all want to do, I'll be here. And I think that would be one of the few things on the list for him to go, okay, gang, saddle up. Like we're Puzzle Dust, you're on Vanguard. Let's head to the Feywild.
Well, there's obviously some of our fans who are very gung-ho for Journey to the Feywild.
Yes.
So I would not be surprised if we end up there.
Yeah.
And then Darren had a couple more. Darren wants to know, does Ari want to make Puzzle Dust his pet?
No, Puzzle Dust isn't a pet. Puzzle Dust is a friend. Well, not a friend either. He's an unsettling entity that slinks on Ari's shoulders. No, Ari enjoys Puzzle Dust's company in spurts. But no, in terms of like having Puzzle Dust around all the time, Ari would find that very tiring very quickly. So he likes Puzzle Dust, I think more so than most of the party.
Yeah.
But I think part of that is also self-serving, that you know things about my condition. Okay, like, let's be friends. But no, Ari does not want to hang out. Ari does not want Puzzle Dust to be around as much as Cal, like, at all. So, yeah.
I swear on my stack of Eberron books, I knew I wanted something to be living in the house. Mm-hmm. And I knew I didn't want it to be another combat encounter, because combat encounters take time, and we're working on a time budget. So, and I decided I wanted it to be something funny, so I went with the Fairy Dragon. It was initially going to be a pseudo dragon. That was the initial plan, is that it was going to be Grimalkin's old familiar, who was still living there long after Grimalkin's disappearance. And I decided Fairy Dragon was just cooler. And it was really right after he said hello that I decided that he knew that he worked for the Forgotten Prince.
Okay.
Like, that was because I didn't have the voice until he said hello. I knew what I wanted the voice to sound like, but I hadn't worked out how to do it. Didn't have any of it until he said hello. And then, okay, I know how this character fits to this party. I know why the party will tolerate this character.
Yeah.
Because he's not kindly. And then Darren's other question: is it a coincidence that Ari and Shade both have Fae stuff in their backgrounds?
Yes. There was no coordination of any kind between myself and Casey about backgrounds. So, yeah, that'll be fun to see where the overlap is and how we can team up to take on the Feywild if necessary.
Well, and it's for me, it's very interesting because my home game that Casey and Adam play in, that Casey and RA play in, is very deliberately by me Fae themed. Like, I decided that my last big home game was undead, and I wanted to do something very different, so I went with Fae this time. And so Khyber Shards is very accidentally Fae themed. I did not anticipate that, but it's interesting because it's created kind of three big threads that are out there, not all of which are available to the party yet. There's the conflict with the houses thread that's always been a part of this.
Yeah.
And now there's the Fae thread. And then, of course, there's the what's going on out in the jungle thread that is not currently available for the party to grab. Well, I guess you could just plunge into the jungle without direction and hope you found them, I guess.
Yeah.
So I guess it's not unavailable. It's just there's
Not
lots
the
of warning
wisest of
signs.
decisions. Yeah. Well, and it's an interesting, I think, split in the party of you have Ari and Faye with or Ari and Shade with Faye stuff in the background, and then Ezri obviously having the Mark of Death, and Pog having literal ghosts fueling his abilities is like an interesting, like, death and kookiness. So
It is there is a, I think, fairly straightforward intersection between the other half of it that I'm not going to say right now. I'm waiting for one of them to think of it, to realize that there's a very clear intersection here of how we could find out more. So that will be interesting to see now that we've seen the intersection of Shade and Ari's story of both of us are dealing with the Feywild. Though we haven't yet seen whether there is a clear intersection between the specific Archfey. Yeah, if nothing else, the Archfey all know each other, so we'll see. So, well, then that's all of our questions. So I hope you've enjoyed this dive into Ari's secret and his terrible curse. I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes. Now that it's in the open, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to actually, I think, be initially a challenge to remember to keep doing it. Now that everyone knows. But hopefully I can remember.
Well, now I can overtly ask things like, do they remember me and stuff like that without people going, what a weird question.
Yeah. Without it being a big old...
Yeah.
So, we hope you have enjoyed this. Thank you so much for the questions from our viewers. If you'd like to submit questions, you can find a link to our Discord in the description below. You can also leave questions in comments. I always go back and check the last couple of episodes to see if anybody's asked any questions. So you can also get in touch with us there or tweet at us at Khyber Shards. You'll also find all of our various social medias down in the description, as well as a link to our Patreon. If you like this show or Eberron Renewed, which is our podcast, or any of the other things that you find on the Geek Pantheon, and you'd like to support us in helping us do it better, you can support us over at Patreon, where we have a bunch of different tiers. In the meantime, new episodes of Khyber Shards drop every Monday. New Khyber Shards Answers drop every Friday. We hope you will enjoy this coming Monday's episode, which is very special in certain ways. Mwahahaha. That was a weird laugh. Anyway, this has been Khyber Shards. Thanks for rolling with us.